Hey everybody, how ya doing? It is Mr. Bookman, and today I'm going to be reading Wonder Horse. True story of the world's smartest horse by Emily Anderson McCully. Please enjoy. Wonder Horse. Bill Key was born a slave on a plantation in 1833. Even as a little boy, he had special ways with animals. He could soothe and he could cure just about any creature. After Bill grew up and slaves were freed, he became a veterinarian. He was called Doc Key. Most of his patients were horses. In those days, horses did the hauling, pulling, and carrying, and they were often abused. Few people realized that animals had feelings. Bill believed in treating every animal with kindness. "Put down your whip," he would say to a farmer trying to get his tired horse to move. Bill stroked the spot on the animal's neck where its mother had once nuzzled. All creatures like kindness, Bill advised. His method worked. His reputation spread. Doc created a medicine called Keystone liniment. It worked on colic, lameness, cramps, headaches in both humans and animals. His liniment made him rich. Doc bought a hotel and a restaurant. After he bought a racetrack, he wanted to own the fastest horse in the country. One day he heard that a circus was selling its animals. Doc went to see if a racer was among them. He noticed a beautiful mare with a disadvantaged profile, and Doe thought. Arbins are known for speed and intelligence, but she looked frightened. There were marks on her flanks where she'd been whipped. Doc bought her for $40. Doc loved his new horse, Loretta. She was the smartest horse he'd ever known. He found a champion stallion to father her foal. Then he waited for his future champion to be born. But the new foal had twisted legs and a mottled mottled, homely coat. Doc thought the fowl was too weak to survive, so he called his plain old Jim Key. Worse, the birth used up Loretta's strength. Doc tried desperately to save her, but Loretta died. Doc's heart closed shut with grief. No one could console him, not even his dogs, who waited for Doc to throw a stick for them to fetch. Meanwhile, little Jim Key tried desperately to stand on his crooked leg. His bright black eyes begged Doc not to lose hope in him. One day, Doc felt a nudge on his shoulder. It was Jim Key with a stick in his mouth. "You want to play fetch?" Doc smiled for the first time in weeks. He threw the stick and Jim stumbled after it. The fowl had never taken more than 2 steps. Jim picked up the stick and trotted back. He trotted a few feet, offering the stick. He spread his lips in a grin. "You're trying to cheer me up, aren't you?" Doc asked. After Doc and his dogs went out inside his home, he heard loud knocking on the front door. It was Jim. "Okay, Jim, you win," Doc said. He made Jim a bed on the floor of the spare room. The colt slept there every night until it was too big for the doorway and too heavy for the floorboards. Then Doc took his own bed out to the barn. Almost everything Doc did, Jim tried to do. Jim figured out how to unlock the padlock gate. He opened the drawer where Doc kept apples, ate them all, and then shut the dresser door. Then Doc laughed at his antics. Jim seemed to laugh too. "I wonder what else you could learn," Doc said. Jim lifted his chin as if he to say, "Try me." Doc decided to take time off from selling liniment. Doc taught Jim one lesson at a time, repeating it and rewarding Jim with apples or sugar. First, Doc wrote the letter A on a card. He said A aloud, then put the card in Jim's lips, held them shut, and patted his neck. They proceeded to B, then C, until Jim knew the whole alphabet. In the following years, Jim learned to count and pick up primary colors. Wow, must be a smart horse. One day, watching Jim add the subtractions, Doc cried, "Jim should go on the road. People will be amazed by how much you know. They could see that animal have feelings, and it's wrong to make them suffer. Wonder if Jim could do that in front of strangers." One of Doc's farmhands said, "Might just be something that you want him to do, not learning at all." Doc knew that Jim had truly been educated. He arranged for a show to prove it. At first, audience couldn't believe their eyes, but soon they were gasping and cheering. Jim Key loved being the star of the show. The bigger the audience, the more he hammed it up. Jim spelled, made change from a cash register, danced to music, and bowed to ladies in the audience, flicking his tail and grinning. Jim and Doc traveled to fairs, small towns, theaters, and big city arenas. But one day, Doc saw a newspaper headline, "Is Horses Intelligence a Fraud?" The story asked, "How could a little old black man with no education teach a dumb animal to do those things?" The next day, there were hecklers in the audience. "This is all a trick," one shouted. "Some people are offended by your brain power, Doc," said to Jim, "but children believe in you." Doc asked the local board of education to close the schools for a day so that every child in town could come to the show. The board replied, "We can't close our schools for horse shows, or monkey shows." The insult made Doc more demanded. "Jim, we have to find a sponsor. We can't fight prejudice all by ourselves." Doc wrote to the Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, "Let us team up, Jim. Can help spread our message. What if your act is a hoax?" They wrote back, "People already call us foolishly for teaching kindness to animals." Doc invited them to come and see for themselves, and they agreed as long as the demonstration was secret. The big day arrived. Doc and Jim waited and waited, but no one showed up. Doc said, "I have another idea." Doc invited a team of professionals from Harvard University to examine Jim Key and decided if he was really educated. The professionals agreed. You must wait outside while we examine Jim, they told Doc. They led Jim inside and shut the door. Doc waited patiently. A crowd gathered. Hours later, the door opened. The professors announced their feelings. It's not a horse, Jim answered all of our questions. He can read, spell, do, arithmetic, and definitely colors, entirely as a result of his education. Every newspaper carried the story. Jim Key, educated by kindness. The Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals agreed to sponsor Jim Key's performance. After the shows, thousands of schools children signed a pledge that said, "I promise to treat animals with kindness." For 9 years, Doc and Jim Key traveled the country in a custom railroad car, delighting audiences of all kinds. Then they retired to a peaceful life on Jim's Key's farm, where ecstatic fans visit, and Jim was always happy to amaze them with what he knew. Wow, now that's pretty cool. I guess that guy had a very smart horse. You know, can't say that horse was not smart and not dumb. How many of you have had a smart animal that knew how to do things like that? Give me a thumbs up if you have an animal like that. Just curious. Well, everybody, I hope all of you enjoyed this story time, and if you did, give it a thumbs up and share it. And if you're new and came along this story time, hit that red subscribe button down below and subscribe to my channel. And I want to welcome some new subscribers here to my channel. Welcome aboard. Feel free to check out my other book readings I got plenty, so feel free to check them out. But until next time, everybody, y'all take it easy out there and have a good one. And this is Mr. Bookman. This book reading is over. Have a good one and take care.